Hey guys, it's Matt Myers with Flippers Diving, and guess what? We're going diving again today. I've got a pretty sweet dive for you. This is kind of one of my favorite sites, offshore St. Augustine. I call it the airplane graveyard. It's actually a bunch of A6 intruders. These are jets that were dumped offshore intentionally back in the mid 90s. They basically were kind of going to the scrapyard, and a bunch of great people got together and said, hey, let's clean them up, put them on the bottom of the ocean, create a great marine habitat. So on this particular site, there's about 6 of these intruders kind of scattered somewhat close to each other. If you've got decent visibility like we had this particular day, you can pretty much see at least one plane to the next on a really great day. We've had days out there with 80 to 100 foot of visibility, and you can just kind of hover 20 or 30 feet off the bottom and see all of them. It's really spectacular. So if you get a chance to dive it, head offshore St. Augustine. It's a good 20 plus miles offshore to get to this site, and definitely an advanced dive. We're in a little over 100 foot of water, and the conditions vary. So on this particular day, decent visibility. It's a little chunky. You can kind of see some particulate coming through the water. And ironically, we went about 3 miles from this site, and you'll probably see one of my other videos, the mangrove massacre. Well, that was only 3 miles away on the exact same day, and we had almost 100 foot of visibility. So pretty bizarre and kind of unique how the dive sites can change even really, really close to each other. So as you can see so far, my emphasis on this dive, as a lot of times it is lionfish. And oddly enough, this site, every time I go there, almost every time, there is a great collection of lionfish here, and you feel like you've wiped it out, and you come back a couple weeks later and the population has exploded again. So obviously a lot of you know I'm a commercial hunter for lionfish, so most of my lionfish are getting sold to wholesalers. So I'm really trying to pick out the biggest ones. You could definitely spend a whole dive and then some trying to get every last little lionfish here, but when you're in 100 plus foot of water, you have very, very limited bottom time. So you got to kind of pick and choose what you're going to do on your dive. So I'm primarily hunting lionfish, but I'm also shooting other fish and looking for other opportunities and trying to make my way around this entire dive site. So there's a lot going on. I do get questions from time to time, specifically about lionfish hunting. A lot of folks that come in the shop and want to get involved and start hunting lionfish, which is really easy to do. One of the biggest questions I get is, what pole spear do I need, or how am I going to spear them? And I see a lot of lionfish pole spears out there, and they're generally like 2 foot, 2.5 foot long. Not necessarily my recommendation. I like to have a spear that is as long as possible, that I can hold it in one hand and I can hold my container in the other hand, just like I'm doing right here, and be able to put the lionfish in the container without having to move my hands off the container or the spear. Because as you're going to see a little throughout this video, a lot of times the lionfish are out there in the open like you're seeing right now, but a lot of times they're hiding up under the wreckage or under a ledge, and I physically can't get all the way back in there, so I need something that can reach as far as possible, but I don't want it to be an annoyance. So the spear I'm using, I believe it's a 3.5 foot, it might be a 4 foot spear, total length. I've seen people trying to shoot with 6 foot and longer spears. It's just kind of ineffective for lionfish hunting. So we're down here on the A6 Jets, and as you can see so far, stacking them up pretty good. We've also got a whole bunch of red snappers swimming around, which we won't even start talking about those guys. But this is also a great site for mangrove snapper. Occasionally I'm seeing cobia out here. Sheep's head a lot of times. Gag grouper will be out here. It's pretty diverse site. I've actually gotten some really nice mutton snapper on this site last year, but ultimately I'm always trying to load up the lionfish. If you guys are not involved, the FWC Lionfish Challenge, it's a free program. I talk about it a lot because I think it's really cool. Incentive for free for you guys to get out there, kill as many lionfish as you can, turn in the tails, do the little paperwork form, submit your photos. There's an app called Fishing Chaos, which is where all the submissions are done. And FWC is just giving away oodles of prizes. So it's a really great thing to get involved with. If you haven't done it already, if you're already out there killing lionfish, might as well get free stuff, right? And help out FWC with their quest to rid the reefs of all these terribly invasive species. So apologize today, my dive buddy was not diving with me that normally shoots video, so you get the pleasure of the head cam, which isn't always the best thing, but at least you're getting my point of view. And I'm always scoping and looking around as I'm moving along the dive site, looking for opportunities, you know, what fish are there, what predators are there. You're gonna notice there's a handful of Goliaths on this site, which if I'm shooting lionfish, I don't really care about Goliaths or sharks, but when I'm shooting other fish, I definitely get a little bit concerned and want to keep my head on a swivel. So on this site, I'll generally spend maybe like 2 or 3 minutes on a plane, and then I'll move to the next plane and spend a few minutes on that plane, and then move to the next plane. And I'll hit them all, and then I'll turn around and go back, and I'll just keep doing that until I run low on gas or low on bottom time. Just because if you hang out too long, you tend to scare everything inside and they hide. So especially if you're like talking about mangrove snapper or any other fish species, even the lionfish, you come back 5 minutes later, you'd be surprised when you've picked off a few that some of the ones that were hiding inside that wreckage worked their way out. So I got a lot of conversation. I see this on posts, but people are always kind of like zookeeper versus aquatic hunt lionfish locker. And if you've watched any of my videos, no mystery, I love the lionfish locker. But people get in these battles and they say, oh, the lionfish locker, it's cheap, it's terrible, it's not good. I want to tell you why it is good and why I migrated from the zookeeper over to the lionfish locker. There's several reasons. So the zookeeper is not a bad device, right? You're just trying to protect yourself from these lionfish and have some sort of container to put all this stuff in. And man, I used to use a 5-gallon bucket for the first couple of years that I was hunting lionfish. But I want to point out a couple of features on the lionfish locker that I think really set it apart from zookeepers or any other containers out there. So first off, you've got a sheath on the side. It's built in. Every model they sell has the sheath. And if you look in the kind of top right corner there, there's actually a little catch that you can loop your pole spear band on. So it keeps your pole spear in the sheath, hands-free until you need it. And I use that all the time. Second thing is, it is super easy to get your lionfish out of the container without having to touch or unscrew parts or whatever. That front door, as you can see in the bottom image, there's a little catch. You just pop it, it flips open, and then you just dump your lionfish straight into your cooler or whatever container you're using back on the boat to take care of them. The container drains the water extremely fast. You can see the bottom there. That whole bottom is basically, it's got a stainless steel mesh inside so that spines aren't going to go through. But even the biggest lionfish locker is 30 inches. It's really huge. You pull that thing out of the water, and in about 2.5 seconds, all the water is gone. It's very, very fast. Compared to the zookeeper, which generally takes quite a bit longer, you're sitting there waiting for all that water to drain out of those small holes. And then my favorite part about the locker is the flap, right? So on the zookeeper, you have kind of a modified funnel, and I can't tell you how many funnels I went through because they don't last very long. Eventually you jam enough fish in there, you just start breaking the funnel down, and then once you start seeing fish swim out of your zookeeper, you realize, oh crap, I gotta buy another one of these funnels, or I gotta make one, or whatever. The lionfish locker has a spring-loaded door, so you just push the lionfish against the locker door, slide it in, and pull your spear back out. And on the newest models, which came out this last year, the Aquatic Hunt Pro, it has that little black, almost looks like a door. It's a rubber gasket so that your spear doesn't get stuck. You can push the lionfish in, your spear slides into the gasket, and then you just slide the spear back out. And if you've been watching me, even just in this video, my spear goes in and out of that container very quickly and does not get caught up, and I just keep on and keep hunting. So the last thing I'll point out is that for an equivalent length on the locker compared to a zookeeper, let's say you're talking 20 inches, there is physically more volume in a lionfish locker than there is a zookeeper because of its shape. It's square versus circular. So physically you can fit quite a bit more fish in the lionfish locker. And then of course mine is even further modified with the commercial or tournament edition bag from Bad Fish Slayers. Really, really awesome. I shove everything in there. Not just the lionfish. You're going to see me, I'm shooting mangroves here shortly. Ironically, just yesterday, I put a cobia in the lionfish locker, given if I didn't have the bag on there, it probably wouldn't have fit because it was quite long. But the whole fish right inside the locker. So if you guys have never tried one, if you're going to come dive in Jacksonville, maybe you're going out with nautical divers or one of your buddies, come see me. I'll loan you a locker. You can give it a shot. If you don't like it, just bring it back. But more than likely, you're probably going to come back to me and ask if you can buy one. And I keep all sizes in stock at Flippers Diving. We have them available online, so if you want to grab one, we got pole spears, we got all the stuff, and man, we definitely put down some lionfish. So, you saw me slide the ring onto the gun. Watch this. Way, way back there, we got some mangoes hiding out. Just waiting at the right moment. Pop. There we go. And then quickly, I'm pulling that spear out because the longer I let that fish sit there and flop around, the more likely he's going to get stuck back up in there. But nice holding headshot right there through the gill plate. I used to dive this site all the time, and there'd be days you wouldn't see as many fish. Oh, cobia! Cobia right over my head. If I had waited like 20 seconds and not gone under and shot that fish, we might have had a cobia on this video. By the way, I cleaned this all up. I got a whole mess on my hands. I'm shoving the fish in the locker, and I got to clean up the gun, all that. If I had been ready to go, but you know, it's luck of the draw, and of course, by the time I get my gun back together and I'm ready to shoot anything, that cobia was in and out. But anyway, I was starting to say, used to dive this site, and I would never look under stuff. And I've really, this season specifically, I am looking in nooks and crannies and on these culvert sites, looking up, looking between, looking in the darkness. You know, if you look back at this video, rewind 30 seconds, when I first approached that overhanging wing, it's just dark under there. I didn't see a single fish. You get the flashlight out, you lay down in the sand, you put your head to the sand, and you start looking and just patiently watching, and all of a sudden you see way back in there all these fish ready to come home and get in my cooler. So pretty cool. I would really love to put one of those red snapper in my cooler because that is very frustrating to see, but is what it is. Maybe things will change one day when I'm old and gray. There's hundreds of them. You can just see the silhouettes there off in the shadows. You'll get the smaller ones that come in to the actual site, whatever it is, the jets, the culverts, the ledges. But if you just go dance around in the sand, get like 30, 40 feet away from the wreckage, some big boy monsters come in. It's kind of entertaining to watch, but also frustrating. We actually got several jets here. They're kind of laying on top of each other, this little cluster. There's either 2 or 3 of them there. The frustrating thing about shooting around these jets is airplanes in general. Their exterior is a very, very thin metal, and these have been sitting underwater for, what, 30 years now? So it is not in great condition, and if you're shooting any spear gun, really, you're likely to penetrate straight through that metal, and I've had some really frustrating days on this wreck where I have shot, I've hit the fish, but my spear keeps going, penetrates the metal, and the flopper deploys, and I can't get it out, or I'm spending a whole bunch of time trying to get it out. So you'll see sometimes I don't take shots, and it's because I'm worried that I have the airplane behind me or whatever's behind my shot, and I don't want to create a bigger problem for myself. So gotta be a little careful. But another nice mangrove there, gill plate shot. Get right on them, grab them. I'm free shafting here, by the way. And then we're gonna put them and stuff them right in the locker. Which, another reason I love that device, guys. Like, I don't even mess around with a fish stringer. That took like 2 seconds to drop that fish into the box. And moving on to reload. You're at 100 plus feet, it's all about time. You've got to be efficient. You don't want to hurry and swim fast and be inefficient and waste your gas, but you want to find ways to minimize movements, to be as streamlined as possible in the water. You know, you can't see my gear right now, but I dive a back plate and a single piece harness. Very much like a cave diver, technical diver, we want to keep our configuration very, very simple and clean because it helps me be as efficient as possible in the water. Coming up on another one of the jets. By the way, did you guys know I grew up and started scuba diving in Iowa? Yes, it is a scuba diving mecca. Most people didn't know that. Most people also might not realize I'm being a little sarcastic right now. Yep, had to move. Open water certified in 1998 in a 15-foot deep sand quarry with about 3 foot of visibility. Man, it was beautiful. But I chose to leave and come down here and hunt lionfish. So I've been in Florida since 2006. So I guess we're almost basically right at 20 years. Haven't looked back. I guess you might then say, well, how on earth did you get involved in scuba diving in Iowa? And I'll give you the quick, short story. But started in high school. There was a marine biology class, and they offered to certify the kids in the class in scuba diving so that we could go study fish. And that was the only reason I took the class. That sounded like a whole lot of fun to me. I've always been a water person. And sure enough, did the marine biology class, and it changed my life. So here I am. Thank you to Dr. Stiles, the most influential teacher I've ever met in my entire life. If it wasn't for her and fueling my passion for diving, I would have never started working in the dive shop. I would have never ended up in Florida. She gave me every opportunity possible, and just definitely want to thank her. I'm 45 years old, down here in Florida, living my dream. So thank you, Dr. Stiles. So get under these overhangs and look up. You will find stuff like a big fat lionfish hiding. A lot of times they're not even swimming like that. They're like tucked down, their fins are closed up, and they kind of look like a piece of rock. So you really got to slow down. A flashlight is incredibly helpful right here. I use a big blue, the AL 1300. It's really small. It fits in the palm of my hand. It's got about 2 hours of burn time. So for a given dive day, that's more than enough. Push button activation so I can operate it with one hand. And of course, it's cool camouflage color, so that's pretty rad. And you probably keep thinking we have a cobia swimming around us. That little guy, that's a remora, was driving me nuts on this entire dive. Just kept following me, and I wouldn't be paying attention. I'd be focused on fish, and I'd think something was on my leg, and it was this stupid remora. They are annoying, to say the least, but not dangerous. Now we got a mangrove, nice big one out in the open. Let's take them down. Boom. Now we're free shafting. He's on the shaft. Thankfully the flopper's doing its job, but I better get to that fish fast because he's working his way to the other end of the spear, and if I didn't have my hands on him right now, he would probably be swimming off with a nice big hole in him. So not a great shot, but we got him. And we're able to bring them home, put them in the box, and get them in the freezer. So guys, if you're interested in learning to spearfish like this, you've heard it probably before, but if it's your first time watching my channel, we do spearfishing workshops. Flippers Diving. Go to flippersdiving.com. Click on our charters and workshops section. You can read all about the workshops, but if you've never even touched a spear gun, but you're an experienced diver, that is the place for you. Come join us. We're doing workshops all season long. They are very limited though. We only put 6 people in a workshop. It's a lot of one-on-one time, and then we do the workshop one day, and the next day we go offshore. And we are diving sites just like these, putting your newfound skills to the test. So would love to have you guys join. If you're not sure, call me up. Shoot me a message. Happy to answer questions. flippersdiving.com. You can get all my contact information there. By the way, my name is Matt Myers. I'm the owner and operator of Flippers Diving, and hope to see you all underwater soon.